What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. Today we have an insanely fun but extremely strong hunter build for you. This thing is going to give you a essentially permanent uptime on 25% extra damage to all of your weapons on top of auto reloading every single weapon. And at the end of the day, you're going to keep your melee up extremely often, be amplified all of the time, and be able to tackle any type of content you want to. Best part is, does use an exotic. It's not featured. It's extremely easy to get, but the loadout is entirely up to you. I'm going to show you my preferred method in terms of the loadout to get the most benefit out of it. We'll break down this entire build for you, take it into some ultimate content, and show you guys what it can really do. To start off breaking this down, we are on Arc Hunter. Your super doesn't matter. Go ahead and use whichever one you want. I prefer Gathering Storm. It's one and done since I'm focusing mostly on weapon damage. Now for the melee, always combination blow. It stacks up to 3 times, gives you some pretty insane damage with it. Grenade wise, use whatever you want. I'm going with Flashbang just on the chance that when we do go up against unstops, it can stun them with its blinding effect. Now for the aspects, we are going with Lethal Current. So after dodging our next melee attack, we'll have increased lunge. It'll jolt the target and creates that damaging aftershock shock. Plus jolting nearby targets with your melee will blind them. Then there's Tempest Strike. This is extremely fun and it pairs with Combination Blow. Of course, when you slide, you use your melee ability, it throws a little arc lightning out at people, and it grants you stacks of bolt charge too, so that's extremely good as well. We are going with Spark of Discharge, so our arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace, which will give us about 4% super energy, and when we collect an ionic trace, it's also going to grant us bolt charge. Then there's Spark of Ion, so when we defeat a jolted target or defeating a target with a bolt charge, it will create an ionic trace. With our loadout, as well as our artifact mods, or our aspects, and then our just melee in general, we're going to be creating ionic traces pretty often, making sure we always have bolt charge up and then keeping our super topped off pretty frequently as well. Then there's Spark of Shock, just so our arc grenades do jolt targets, further building into ionic traces. And then there's Spark of Amplitude. Reason being is we're going to be amplified quite often, and this will just help us create orbs of power when we defeat targets while we're amplified. Now, the main bread and butter here is going to be our exotic arms, the Sealed Ahamkara's Grasp. An exotic I put away in the vault a long time ago and I've never brought out, but this thing's actually insane. With Nightmare Fuel, powered melee and finisher final blows will grant you Nightmare Fuel, increasing handling, airborne effectiveness, but while it's active, freshly drawn weapons will deal additional damage, and that's right about 25%, but it's also going to grant you Nightmare Fuel on final blows, and gaining Nightmare Fuel will reload holstered weapons. So let me show you how this works. And again, remember, your loadout can be entirely up to you. You don't have to use exactly what I'm doing, but feel free to if you'd like. So first up, just because this constantly does damage, we're using this here Finality's Augur. We're going to slide, get a melee to get our Nightmare Fuel, and then we're just going to switch between weapons, keeping our Nightmare Fuel completely topped off, giving us insane damage with that 25%, and it's up extremely often. Now let me show you just what Nightmare Fuel does in terms of damage. So right here, we're sitting at about 23 damage per headshot with just a normal auto rifle shot. We proc Nightmare Fuel, and that goes up to that 34. And then it just keeps scaling and resetting every time we're getting kills with our weapons that are freshly drawn. And remember, it does reload everything in your inventory, I guess your loadout, as it's holstered. And then it just reprocs it every time you get a kill. Then you can reset it with your melee when you run out. Now, for the loadout that I'm opting to go with, of course, is Mint Retrograde. No further explanations needed with that guy. It's the best in slot. Then we're going with an Arc Auto Rifle solely because it has Strategist, which final blows of this weapon generate class ability energy, meaning we can run our class ability power, I guess, stat really low. And then this is just going to help aid us getting that back faster. And then, of course, it also has Jolting Feedback, which means dealing repeated damage will jolt nearby targets. As you saw, we also are using Finality's Augur. Yes, 2 of these weapons do come from dungeons. They're not necessary by any means. And if you don't have them and you want them, feel free to hop in our Discord, shoot me a message, come by our stream. I would love to help you farm for these and get these for you for your inventory if you don't already have them. Or you can run whatever loadout you want, and it's going to virtually do the exact same thing because you're focusing on just constant weapon damage, defeats, and reprocking Nightmare Fuel. Now, for the artifact mods, there's nothing really here you need to worry about. Shield Crush, I think, is a must. Since we're amplified, it's going to recharge our grenade faster and deal additional damage. Then there's threadling proliferation, so dealing strand weapon damage has a chance to spawn a threadling, and with pack tactics, dealing damage with threadlings increases threadling damage. It's not going to come up a ton, but hey, it's there, we might as well use it. Then there's also elemental coalescence, so defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup matching our super, which is going to be another addition to creating ionic traces. For the main armor mods, we're focusing just high on melee, grenade, super, and then as much weapons as we can get. So I don't think necessarily you need a specific armor archetype set or anything like that. We are opting to run Smoke Jumper. We only need one piece on because remember, if you are doing Festival of Lost activities, you do have the costume mod, which can create that mask into any type of armor type, meaning you only have to run one specific piece, or you could run 4 really easily. But now we're going with Harmonic Siphon, so rapid arc kills create an orb, heavy ammo finder, just because I want to make sure I can have heavy ammo as much as possible. You could also do special ammo finder, do dynamo, really anything in slot right there has kind of just been depending on your play style. Then we're doing a solar strand dual siphon mod. This is from the artifact, so it combines solar and strand, since our primary or our special weapon and our heavy weapon both fit that category. Next up is going to be a double heavy-handed on our gauntlets, meaning our heavy or our charged melee kills are going to create orbs of power more frequently, and then fastball to throw those grenades a little bit further. Chest piece, I've said it a million times, resistance mods to match whatever activity you're going into, and then I'm tossing on an arc generation ammo mod, so our primary weapon just helps us generate more ammo for the special heavy weapons. For the legs, we're going with Better Already to get health pickup on an orb. Then we're going with Absolution, which will reduce all ability cooldowns when we pick up an orb of power. Then there's Strand Scavenger, so we get more bonus reserves for our Mint Retrograde when we pick up a special brick. Now for the cloak, we're going with Bomber, so that it reduces our grenade cooldown when you use your class ability. You could also toss on Disruption if you have enough stats here. That's another one if your stats are a little bit high enough, if you have that extra energy. Then there's Reaper, so when we use our class ability, our next weapon defeat will create a final orb of power. Then there's Powerful Attraction again. Those two go hand in hand, so when we do dodge, we get ourselves orb pickups within 12 meters thanks to Powerful Attraction. So there you have it. We're focusing on basically just a melee and a constant rotation of weapons. And like I said, you can use any type of loadout with this build, and it's constantly going to keep your just damage stacked up by 25%. This does not help or proc with things such as Radiant and those type of weapon buffs, but it does work with debuffs such as the tether from a Night Stalker Hunter. So you can run this on Prismatic if you want to and toss on a tether. And I'll show you really quickly how that works because this does help too, meaning you don't have to run this just on pure arc. So all we have to do again is just get a melee kill, right? So we get a melee kill. We have that bonus right there. It hits 31. We go ahead and tether. We still have Nightmare Fuel, and then it's going to stack on top of that, giving us a little bit more damage. So you can run this on Prismatic, but for the sake of fun, we're going with pure arc. So let's take this into some negative ultimate content and see how fun it really is. There's Nightmare Fuel. And now we just need to keep getting kills with freshly drawn weapons. And get this to proc. We should be able to reset it here in a second with the melee. There's Nightmare Fuel again. Toss that right there. Waits for another enemy to come out. There we go. Oh, nope, you're a little too big for a melee, sir. It also doesn't stack with buffs like Bait and Switch, just to know that. That's why I'm saying like really any loadout can work with this, because you're not going to be taking advantage like Bait and Switch or Radiant or anything like that unless you're using debuffs. Okay, there's another another Ionic Trace. Almost have the melee back again. There's melee. And luckily our teammates are creating a ton of orbs, so our super's back. Okay, he's not in there. Come on. Dude, they don't come out fast enough. Okay, let's get another melee kill here. There's Nightmare Fuel. We can just keep getting it reset. Oh, there's that big boy. We need to go ahead and do some hive magic. That guy is tanky, though. Alright, let's proc that. There's Nightmare Fuel. We just gotta keep getting kills. Keep resetting it. That guy's cooked. And now we should probably go dunk some of these. Once, go look at these Dread. That'll just help us proc Nightmare Fuel. As long as we can keep getting kills, we'll be able to keep it up. Oh my god, dude, the slow. That was too much. Way too much. I hate Dread. Let's blind him. And ourselves, apparently. Get the dodge. There's Nightmare again. And we can just keep getting kills right here. There's more Nightmare right there. So we just have to keep remembering to switch weapons. That's really the biggest portion of this. Because as long as we're keeping our weapons refreshed and swapping out, then we can keep Nightmare Fuel up. So it's kind of like, let's get a kill with one weapon and start shooting with another. Oh, dude, the Grim, man. Oh, he didn't come out yet. Dude, these guys just need to come out of their little dome a little faster. Oh, there's that bad guy. Alright, we are completely out of our dodge, and dude, the strand enemies on this pull so insanely far. There we go, now we can do that. Finishers also work on this too to proc Nightmare Fuel, so right there, we got it. Refresh it with that kill. Right there again. Okay, let's invoke the magic. Plus, we're using combination blow also, so we're getting a huge increase just on our melee also. Meaning as you're doing this in harder in content and you're continuously to proc Nightmare Fuel, continuing to proc your self combination blow, your weapons will keep good damage as well as your melee too. Except for the, oh, there we go. There's some more Nightmare Fuel. Get a kill, switch weapons. And just keep trying to refresh it as often as we possibly can. Which we'll have to refresh going back into killing the boss. There's Nightmare Fuel. Hopefully we didn't soft lock it. Nope, no soft lock. We got Nightmare Fuel for 6 seconds, doing 25% more damage with Mint. Which obviously, like, Bait and Switch is a better perk overall for Mint Retrograde, but not everyone has it, and not everyone's going to use this specific loadout. So being able to do it just alone on your primary, 25% more damage is extremely valuable. If you guys have checked this build out, used it before, or if you're gonna check it out, feel free to let me know down in the comments. If you would change it up any way that suits your playstyle, also feel free to let me know. But as always, thank you guys so much for coming and watching, and I will catch you in the next one.